Hello and welcome back, YouTubers. I am Protomario, and today we're doing a review of Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow for the Nintendo DS. This is exclusively only available for the Nintendo DS, so if you don't have a DS, I'm very sorry, but you're not going to be able to get it. This game was developed and published by the great company Konami, and is a direct sequel to Castlevania AKA Sorrow. This game series follows the events that pretty much were Dracula's resurrection, but in the new age of things, such as the year 2000. It's pretty close to the year that we live in, and that makes for a more modern Castlevania. The main character in the series is not a Belmont, but actually another person, Soma Cruz. As in the previous installment, Castlevania AKA Sorrow had Soma under the understanding that Soma was actually to become the true heir of Dracula's powers. Rejecting the desire to become Dracula, he inherited the evil presence and destroyed the essence of evil. Pretty much, he can't become evil or corrupt or Dracula returns, so it's all on him. There are several other prominent characters in the series that make a return, such as Julius Belmont, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's an integral part, and you can play with him after you beat the game. What makes this game much different than other Castlevanias is not the formula per se, but rather the way it goes about the formula. You work together with Alucard, Dracula backwards, Alucard. Man, I'm having trouble with that. You guys can laugh at me, I'm okay with that. Anyways, you work together with Alucard, and he pretty much is trying to stop this cult that wishes to resurrect Dracula. However, as you may well have known from the previous installment of Castlevania AKA Sorrow, they can't resurrect Dracula because you're Dracula. So they have another plan to go about this. More or less, I'm not going to give away the storyline. You have to play it to figure out what that secret plan is, but after you get to the end of the game, you will soon figure it out. This game does have several secret endings, so you're going to have to also figure out what those secret endings are. One of the best things that this game does use is the fact that Soma Cruz can absorb souls, just like Dracula. Once Soma Cruz absorbs a soul, he gains that monster's power. In the case of a zombie, he would gain resistance to being poisoned, or strength, depending on which version of the game you're playing, AKA Sorrow or Dawn of Sorrow. Another great example is if you kill a flame demon and you absorb his soul, you can shoot fireballs, and so on and so on. You can gain boss souls for some awesome power, and souls that can stack up to 9 souls for each different soul that you get, making it much more powerful as you go along. Once you collect a said number of souls, you become stronger and strong enough to take on the end boss. You don't really need to collect a certain amount of souls, but there are certain souls that you will need to go on to the final boss, which is an alternate ending. It really depends on which ending you really want. The bad ending is pretty bad, but it's kind of funny to watch. The good ending is, well, not that great anyways. Personally, I believe AKA Sorrow is the stronger of these two. And if you have a chance to play AKA Sorrow, I strongly suggest you play it before this, because you probably won't get the storyline as much if you don't play it before this. However, that's not 100% necessary. For anyone who has no history on Castlevania and have no idea how to play Castlevania, this will be a nice treat for you because it's not really like the other series. Of course, it carries over the characteristics, the characters, the history, things of that nature, and things will be quite familiar to you if you are used to it, but in this sense, this is actually an RPG adventure. Soma Cruz levels up, he can use magical souls 3 at a time, and he also can use equipment, such as a vest, a sword, boots, and an accessory. There are different stats such as attack, defense, agility, things of that nature, but the main one that you really want to focus on is luck. Based upon your luck depends upon whether or not you can get a soul. The higher the luck, the better your soul collection rate is. As you progress further into the game, you'll be able to get things like Soul Eater rings and Rune rings and different things like that. There's some very special equipment later on in the game, such as Dracula's tunic, Death's robe, and a bazooka, a 9mm pistol, nunchucks, throwing sickles, and other very interesting things, such as a whip sword if you want to take it back to the whipping days. As I stated before though, Julius Belmont is a playable character. Again, don't murder me if I'm wrong about that, but there is a whip character that's available for you to play through with too. So if you really want to do the Castlevania arcade experience, you can get it with this game after you beat it one time. As you can see, I have just absorbed Axe Armor Soul, and it now gives me the ability to throw axes in it. A nice throwback to the original Castlevania game. Once again, if you're used to the original Castlevania games, don't have any fear because you will easily adapt to this one. It's no problem at all. And really, it's really fun. It's a great throwback, and the information that you get from some of the enemies and some of the things within the castle, you really recognize it when you've played Castlevania ever since a kid. Dating back all the way to Simon Belmont's original quest, you'll see things that are really nice throwback to the original Castlevania resurrected here within Dawn of Sorrow. There are a few things I disliked about this game compared to Eye of Sorrow, but not very much. One thing I really disliked about this game is when you beat a boss, instead of the boss just dying, you have to use your stylus and draw some sort of little figure, and maybe it's a figure 8, maybe it's a square, a diamond, or an advanced pentagram, but that's how you kill the boss. If you don't do this magic seal, you don't kill the boss. It's really cheap sometimes because that stylus doesn't recognize. So if you have a really old DS and your touchscreen isn't working that well, you may have a problem with this game. Other than that, the touchscreen controls are almost non-existent. So really, you don't really even need dual screen for this game. All that's displayed on the bottom screen is usually your map. Thus, why did they even bother including it? I don't even think they really developed it for that. But, you know, you could say whatever you want about it. This was a very early release. It was released August 25th, 2005. So, you know, maybe the touchscreens weren't advanced. I don't know. Either way you slice it, I really don't like the touchscreen integration. Other than that, I just find the storyline a bit weaker compared to Eye of Sorrow. In any case, Eye of Sorrow is definitely the stronger of the two, and I way prefer that. However, I do prefer the variety and the funny things that you can do on this one compared to Eye of Sorrow. Having said that, let's jump into the core review of this game and see if it really does stack up to the original Castlevanias. Graphically speaking, compared to the Game Boy Advance, this one definitely has a much better bitrate and flow. You can tell that the graphics are updated. Lots of things are happening, like snow's falling on the ground, fire will be shooting up, water's all over the place. It's just really nice to see the backgrounds actually looking like you're in a real environment rather than a still stagnant backdrop. Lights flicker on and off, enemies move constantly, and you can deal with a lot of enemies on the screen without a lot of slowdown. It's really nice, to say the least. I really appreciate this game. Graphically speaking, I give it an S. There is very few games that can do the art style that Castlevania provides. Under sound, we have the most memorable soundtracks that you could possibly think of. Castlevania soundtracks have always been memorable, but this one in particular is really great and a wonderful soundtrack to say the least. I really appreciate the sound, and it's been remixed several times. If you are looking for a great musical track, if you're looking for good sound effects, and, well, it doesn't really have any voice acting, then this is the one you're going to be looking for. This is a great track to listen to, and every environment has its own individual track, so it sounds great. Under sound, I give it an S also. Controls, pretty simple, but unfortunately due to the touchscreen integration and the need to play the little stylus game when you beat a boss, I have to give the controls a little slash. So I give the controls a B- because that stylus thing is really annoying. And I remember there were times, many times, where I ended up losing to a boss because my stylus just wouldn't work out, and that's a shame. So B- for controls. Overall gameplay and replay value, well, you can play through it again and again with different characters. You can play with it with, Soma again and again to get the best souls and the best rating that you can. But, other than that, There's a boss rush mode and not too much else. Under replay and gameplay value, I give it a B+ also. So overall, I would give this game an A++ rating. It's not quite S because it doesn't do anything new. Castlevania Eye of Sorrow did it new, and that's about it. So if you like this game, guys, go ahead, pick it up. It's very cheap nowadays, and give it a try. This is Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. And once more, I'd like to give a shout out to Honestom23. Honestom23. He's the one who's been providing me with these videos. Thanks, Homestom.